Hello everyone, today we'll be making these whimsical bumblebee canes. The design may look a bit complicated with the fuzzy fur-like texture and the delicate looking nature of the wings, but you'll be utilizing a fun squish and chop technique that I have used in an earlier video with the making of butterfly canes. So you can check that out as well if you're interested after watching this video, of course. But it's really great to learn the squish and chop technique in various applications so that you can do more interesting and versatile things with your clay designs. And I just call it the squish and chop technique because the squishing of the clay with objects of various thicknesses is what essentially creates a texture. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Step 1. Create bumblebee body. To start off, I'm creating a simple Skinner blend to create a gradient loaf that goes from yellow to dark yellow, in order to create some texture in my bumblebee. I'll list the color blends and portions of clay used in the description if you need to reference that as well. Now, you don't have to create the gradient effect, you can just use a solid yellow block of clay if you wish. I go over Skinner blending and gradient loaves step by step in my previous videos, so I'll link them in the cards at the top in case I'm going too fast in this video over those basic but essential techniques. After creating your Skinner blend, stretch the sheet. Try to use the thinnest setting as possible. The thinner your clay, the more blended the gradient effect looks. Then make half-inch accordion folds to form your gradient loaf, being careful to avoid trapped air between the layers. Now you should now have a gradient loaf that looks like this. Cut it in half and mirror it and combine. Reduce it to get a rectangular block. Next, take a shorter black rectangular block of clay and place it on top of the gradient loaf. Again, the portions are listed in the description if you need it. You want to go ahead and meld the pieces together. Next, take a ruler, and you want to use it to chop the clay into 5 equal pieces, utilizing the squish and chop method to create the fuzzy texture in the bumblebee. To do this, slowly push down into the clay with your ruler in order to allow the color from the top layer to spread into the area where it's being separated by the ruler. I got this clear ruler from H-E-B that costs about 50 cents. You can use something similar. Just be sure to use baby wipes or olive oil to clean off the clay afterwards to prevent the plasticizers from your clay from eating into the ruler. The consistency of clay matters. I recommend a medium soft clay like Scopi Primo, which is what I'm using for this. After making the chops, you want to combine the pieces back into the loaf. Compress the pieces together so they stick to each other. Then flip the loaf over and we're going to repeat the process on the other side, except this time chop in between the slices that you made previously. Compress the pieces back together again, and you want to reduce the cane so you get it long enough to cut it in half and put the pieces back together side by side. And then reduce the length again so you can cut it in half and piece them together side by side once again. Next, compress to meld the pieces together and reduce it to get it into a long rectangular block. Get it long enough so that you can cut it into 3 equal pieces. Step 2. Assemble body of the bumblebee. After making 3 slices, we want to take 2 slices and combine them together with the black sections facing one another. Then reduce it so the length is long enough to cut in half again. Cut it in half and stack them on top of one another. Now with the last piece, reduce it so that it fits on top of the cane a little better. Then you want to cut off a section of the yellow and add it to the bottom of the bee so that the bee has a bit more of a meatier bum. Then mold the shape of the cane into a bee shape. Here I added a neck, and with my fingertips stretch some of the black down the sides. Using any rounded tool, you can further define the curve of the neck as you wish. You can also leave the neck thicker. It's really up to you how you want to add character to your bumblebee. I also round out the head and its bottom. However, later I decided to make it more pointier because I felt like that enhanced the bee silhouette a bit beeer. Step 3. Create bee wings. For the bee's wings, I made a block consisting of transparent and black clay, and we are going to utilize the same squish and chop technique to create 5 sections. And this time, I'm taking a thicker item like this wooden ruler, which I sanded down a little to taper the ends. But you can get creative and find something else to use, like an old, thick hardcover of a textbook, or tape 2 skinnier rulers together. This wooden ruler was under $1 from H-E-B as well. And the reason why I'm using this is to show y'all how a thicker item will allow the color of the top layer to stretch completely into the area where it's being cut, producing more prominent lines in your bee's wings. After making your chops, compress the pieces to meld them together and reduce until you get somewhat of a cube. Then take your knife and cut off the black part of the cube, and try to leave a very thin layer of the black still remaining on the top as you see here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Then place the cube down with the black part facing up towards you, and you want to cut the cane in half. Then stack one half over the other. Next, mold it with your fingers into a wing shape, and it's up to you how small, thick, or how long your bee wing should be. Just keep in mind that the longer the wing, the more packing clay you'll need to pack the cane later. Cane packing is essentially filling in the gaps of your cane to make irregular shaped canes reducible and easier to slice. After that, add a border around your wing. For the thickness, I used the 3rd setting of my pasta machine. Then cut it in half to create the other wing, and then, optionally, you can further define the wing using any rounded tool. Step 4. Create bee arms and legs. To create the bee's arms and legs, I'm using a sheet of black clay run through thickness setting 2 and sheets of translucent clay using thickness setting 0 of my pasta machine to sandwich the sheet of black clay. Then I take the block and cut off pieces for the 4 bottom legs. And you can curve and pinch the ends of the clay to add some character to the legs if you wish. I also went ahead and made the arms of the bee as well, and this is what it looks like so far. Step 5. Create bee antennae. For our bee's antenna, I thought it would be cute and whimsical to create a spiral-like antenna, but you can make it straight too if you prefer that look. To do the whimsical antenna, it's pretty easy. So I'm using a sheet of black clay run through thickness setting 3 and translucent using thickness setting 2 of my pasta machine. I roll the black sheet slightly to create a small ball on one end of the sheet. Then I take the translucent clay and pinch one end and set that end against the ball. Next, I start rolling the ball inward, which now grabs the sheet of translucent along with it. Slice off the end and fix the shape and attach to your bee cane. After creating your bee shapes, you can pack the cane with translucent or colored clay depending on how you're going to use it. In my next video, I will show you the cane packing and reduction process for this bumblebee cane, so stay in tune for that. With that, thanks for watching and happy caning!